So we discuss about dynamic blocks. So there are some techniques that we can use. These techniques are part of the AutoCAD, standard AutoCAD engine, and that we can use really to do things faster, more efficiently, using also the logic that is behind HyDraw CAD. So we all know that when we place a symbol, and let me just take a symbol. I'll do a small exercise on subplate, standard NG6 subplate. Let me take just one very common, this one is okay. Well, let me take a flipped symbol. I like more the stackable modules below. Okay, this one looks good. So we all know that all the HyDraw CAD symbols are AutoCAD blocks. So the characteristic of an AutoCAD block is that the AutoCAD block has a name. If we right-click and do properties, we'll see that this is going to second screen. There is a name, and all HyDraw CAD block do have a very strange name. So it is possible to build blocks also directly with the AutoCAD engine, not through this HyDraw CAD interface. And let me make an example to introduce today's topic. So let's say that I make a rectangle, and you know that this is just a standard rectangle, so a basic 2D entities managed by the AutoCAD engine. We can make any entity into a block. So the way to make manually a block is to use the insert command, insert tab, create block. We will get a dialog asking, let's see where this is going. Yeah, second screen. This dialog is asking for the name. So here we can define the name that we want. Let's say this block is called rectangle. And we want to specify a base point for the block. And we can take any base point, and also the entities belonging to the block. When we click OK, the AutoCAD engine will make a DWG block in the drawing. So now this entity is very similar to the other entity. The only difference is that the HyDraw CAD block has attributes, while the AutoCAD block that I have made has no attributes. But technically, there is no difference between what we have created. So later I will play with this HyDraw block, but before doing that, I'm going to show you a bit of what is possible with a block. So when we are in a block, as you can see, all the geometry is fixed. Nothing can be done, really done. Nothing is not the right word in this case, because if we do a block editor, we can enter into, and let me close the Library Explorer and the Property Manager. I don't need them now. Actually, we can do a modification inside a block. So in this case, I'm going to stretch this and close and save, and now my block has changed, but this is not handy. I want to be able to do some change to a block geometry from outside of the block, not inside the block. So this is where dynamic blocks help. So we go back to block editor. And now to build dynamic blocks, we need to use this menu that we have on the left, which is called authoring palette. And it is opened by using, if you close by mistake, or if it is not loaded, this authoring palette will be able to load by clicking on authoring palette on the top menu. Now let's say that we want to do a basic stretch of this block. So in order to apply from outside a change to a geometry, we need to add the parameters. So in this case, we need a linear parameter, and we can just put it here. From here to here, that's our linear parameter. That's the distance. And as you can see, we have 2 grip points. This is okay because the dimension can be stretched left or right. But we can say that with the right-click properties, we want only 1 grip point. So it will keep, in this case, the right edge. This is fine. Now I want to apply an action to this attribute, to this parameter that I have created. So to apply actions, we need to go to the Actions tab, and now we do a stretch. that's the action I want to apply, and I want to stretch this by using this parameter from this point. Now, HyDraw CAD is asking me to draw a polygon. So this is the area where the stretch is working. And also HyDraw is asking me to select the entities that I want to involve in this stretch. So the entities are these ones. Then I press enter to confirm. And now we can see this small icon that says that an action has been applied to this block. Now let's try this block. It is possible to test the block, but I don't need to test it now. I just close the block editor and save the changes. And now we will see that we have a smart way to just modify my block. So I can have all the different shapes, in this case by using stretch. And we understand that if we apply the same logic to our block, then things may start making sense. So now I want to apply the same logic to this subplate. Before doing that, I want to control the block name. This is not needed. I mean, changing the block name is not something that you must for sure do, but knowing the block name is handy, because then it's easier to edit, to change. You know how to identify it. So it is possible to rename a block in a drawing. If you right click on the properties, you will see the name, which is very strange, 0CFB and whatsoever. The command to change the block name is rename. You just type rename with a keyboard. REN is the shortcut. This will open this dialog, and this is my block, and I want to rename into NG6 subplate. Okay, now my block has changed, as you can see here, the name into NG6 subplate. Here it is. Okay, now I'm ready to start doing some changes. So I want this symbol to be able to transform into a 2-position, 3-position, 4-position NG6 with and without a relief valve. Let's see how we can do it. So I need for sure to edit this block and apply some change. So I do a block editor. While this one is not needed, I just move away. I don't need it here. Since I'm here, I also want to use colors. So I want a pressure line to be consistent with connection line. So these 2 lines, which I select both, I want to make them pressure line. And these 2, I will make reservoir. And these 2, I will make working line. Since I'm here, I also want these ports to be slightly offset. So you can just snap, use AutoCAD commands. In this case, I just make a line here. I recommend don't use a HyDraw connection line inside symbol. It's better not to do that. Okay, this is the basic geometry of my symbol. Now I want to apply this logic of a transformation. I want to stretch it, become a 2, 3, 4 position. So as I did earlier, I will create a linear parameter from here. And now let me envision the next point for the P port will be this point here. Now I want to again have, let's not have any grip. I'll show you how to control this parameter with a different kind of parameter in the block itself. So this is now my geometry, my distance, and as you see, the length is fixed. This will be the next position of the P port. And let me instead of allowing all the possible distances, I want to have a list of items. Now this is 72. Now let's say that I want to make it rounded to 80. 80. Okay, now this is 80. I want a list, and the list will be 80, 160 will be my true position, 240 and 320, and so on. You can add more. And as you can see now, we have this vertical segment showing that this distance is programmed to have only for discrete dimension, not all the continuous length that we can have. Now we do actions. I want to stretch by using this distance and using this point. I want to create a frame for stretching, and I want just to select this part of the exercise. And I press enter for confirmation, and now I want to try it. Close block editor and save changes. Now, as you see, I forgot to put the grip, so let's get back. Here I should have tested before. Block editor. Now, I don't have the grip, so the grip is not available. I was not able to see it. So I don't like to see the 80, 160, 240 millimeter distance. So I will create something else. I will add a parameter called the lookup table, which I put it here. And I will link to this lookup table also a lookup action on this parameter. The lookup action is simply a table that is matching attributes that are in the block with something else that we want to define. So I want to link the property that I have created called the distance one. And now for the distance 80 millimeters, this will be one single station. Let me say one station, NG6. Then for the 160, I will have the two stations. Then for the value 240, I have the three stations. And for the value 320, I have the four station. And I click OK. This is done. Now, as you see, there is another action here, and I want to close my block editor. Now there is a toggle, and as you see, now my system is making sense. It's not copying A and B, but that will be the second step of my exercise. But at least I can see that I can select different shapes, different parameters, and my block is really stretching the way I want. Now let's go back again in the block editor. And now I want to apply a new action, which is called array. The array is always selecting the same parameter, the distance one, and is applied to these entities. So the segment from P and A and B, enter, and the distance is 80 millimeter. Let's see, as you see down here, we have a new action, and let's see what happens now. Save changes. And now when we select the two station or three station, now our system is starting looking very good, because this is exactly what I want. I want to be able from a symbol to change between 2, 3, and so on. And if I want to add also the fifth position, that's very easy. I just go into the distance parameter, properties. I will add a new parameter distance called 400. And I must remember that the same parameter must be applied to the lookup table. So I need also the 400 with the 5 stations. And now I close. And now we have built a symbol with a configurable symbol from 1 station up to 5 station NG6. Now, the second part is I want to be able to add a relief valve and remove a relief valve in case I don't need it. So there are subplates with relief valve and without relief valve. So let me do that. I again go to the block editor. In case you want entities to disappear or show up, you need to use a different technique. So we need to apply a parameter called visibility. So I need to apply visibility states, and let me put the visibility parameter here. And when you click the visibility and you apply a visibility parameter, on top the edit block menu will show visibility states available. So let's create a visibility state. We can click here. And let's rename it. This is without relief valve. And I want to create a new one, new visibility state called with relief valve. Okay, so now I click OK. Now I have two visibility states, with and without relief valve. I need the room for the relief valve, so let me make some room. Let me stretch this entity up. Let me put the pressure line on top. Too much. And this one I bring it down. Also, I can stretch this. So I just doing changes in the shape in order to have a room for the relief valve. Let me move this down here, and this is up. Okay, this is how my symbol will look like. I need the relief valve. So now I go back and take a relief valve symbol from the library, relief, screwing, pressure control, relief. And I take it here and position somewhere here. I don't need it to be a symbol. I just explode it, explode. And let me just rotate it, rotate. And let me move it. Though the position, this position is okay. Let me bring it up. Let me copy here. And let me also do match properties, pressure line here, and tank line here. Okay, let's go back to the block editor and let's see. So without relief valve and with relief valve. And we have the parameter visibility. So looks good. Let's close the block editor and see how it works. So now we have two action menu. One is the number of stations, and the other is with relief valve or without relief valve. Now we can make things much more complex. So let's say that we want also to have the test point MA and MB for so there are subplate with also test point directly on the subplate. Let's add it. So we do again the block editor, and we go back to the relief with the relief. And now let's see that maybe I need some more room to have the test point. So let me bring this down a bit. Let me bring this up and just another. Let me move this this toggle here, and let's say that MA is going to the left, and copy. MB is going to the right. I make two lines. These lines are always working lines, so I can connect. I need a connection dot, so copy. And now I want to make them dashed. Dash dot, border. That's not the same. I don't have now in this drawing the dashed line. That's okay, dashed. Sorry, I think dashed. Okay, copy. Otherwise, I was going to load it. That may be an exercise for another webinar, loading line types. Okay, so here it is. We go back to the block editor, but now with relief valve should not have these entities. We create a new visibility state called with relief and test point. Okay, and then we create a new one without relief and test point. Okay. So now we have four possible combination. With relief valve and test point, this is okay. So with the relief valve and test point, this is perfect. Without, we don't need the relief valve. So if you want to hide the entities from a visibility state, you select the entities and you switch, you click this command, make invisible. So this is making invisible. So this is the without relief and test point. We go back to the with relief and test point, and with relief should not have the test point. So now we want to hide these entities, make invisible. Make invisible. Let's verify. So we have the without relief valve, we have the with relief valve and test point, and without relief valve and test point. We can close and save the changes. And now our dynamic block will be able to show the with relief valve and test point. As you see, I forgot to copy. So I need also to copy these entities. So let's get back to the block editor. We go back to the with relief valve and test point, and we edit the array. Right click, modify selection, and we want to link also the other entities. Enter. So now the selection is involving also A and B, the second A and B. Let me close, save changes. And now we will see that this is working fine. So all the ports with the test point. There is another level of communication that I show you, and then I show practical example where we can use this item. Let's say that we don't want to manage the visibility state this way. I want to have a smoother configuration process. So I don't want a visibility state. I want a block property table. So I want to control everything from the table. So I put my table here with one grip point. And this is the dialog for the block property table. In my block property table, I want to take the visibility states, but I want to create a new attribute called with relief valve. And it's a string. And the value is maybe yes now. And I want a new attribute called without with test point. And the value is maybe yes. And that's always a string. So now I want to control, so you can drag the columns that you want first. So the combination are, I want a relief valve, yes. And I don't want the test point, or I want the test point, or without relief valve, I want the test point, or I don't want the test point. And now I can map the corresponding visibility state. So this is the with relief valve only. This is with relief valve and test point. This is without relief valve and test point. And this is the combination without relief valve only. Okay. And as you see, this is, let me right click visibility and apply for all states. So I want this toggle be visible for all states. Now let's see how this is working. So now this is my control. So with relief valve, yes or no? Yes, I want the relief valve without test point. Or no, I want nothing. And I always am able to switch to 2 station or 1 station or whatever. So this is really a complete process. You will be able to handle almost everything just by following what I did. I just show you what is doable in this case by showing some example of what is already part in my build block library. So I enter in build symbol mode. And in my build symbol mode, I want to load my library. I go to my custom building blocks. During last webinar, I pointed out where you can find the custom building blocks. Let me take this example of a sectional valve, a working section, and me put it here. So as you can see, this is a working section where I applied that logic of a table. So I'm able to select the control method. I want an electric, the spool type, and additional manual control, yes. And this is changing the shape, manual, C to neutral. Or in terms of compensator, I want no compensator, or I want with only load holding check, or I can select the different variation. For the block on top, I do the same. In this case, those are just standard display format, display settings. Another example is other sectional valves, always the working section. And in this case, there are several options available. You can select the different options that are made for each single block. It is important that then all these items are usable in a HyDraw part list. And so, for instance, I want to save this block. Now, I use these dynamic blocks to build my custom section of a sectional valve. And now I want just to define the insertion point of my element. And I want to define that this is a sectional valve, working section, proportional. Save changes. So now I have used this dynamic block technique to create a symbol that is available in my drawing, and I can use however I want with all the model data that are needed. So we are done. I think, yes, there is 1 minute if there are questions. I hope that this information can really open up something that is really doable with HyDraw CAD. So I always think that there is a lot of power behind that is not always at level of understanding of the common user. So I am very familiar with this. I've been playing with the dynamic blocks for a while. So if you need a suggestion or help, feel free to contact the Vest, and we are here to help.
So Carlo, we did have one question that just came in. If we can run over a bit, maybe if you could try to answer that, that'd be great.
Okay, so let me read the question. Can you use the dynamic symbol to change properties such as model code description for different components? So unfortunately not yet, at least. This is I am discussing actually with development team if we can do something that the model code can drive information. I show you an example always from the custom building blocks. So basically, it is possible to control attributes from a dynamic block. I have an example of Danfoss PVGs, a work section. So in this case, when I change with shock valves, as you see, there is a model code. So in this case, when I select something, there is an attribute model code, but this model code is not the model code that you see in the HyDraw Property Manager. So at present, you can only use the dynamic symbol to change the shape, but you are not able to control the HyDraw Property Manager attributes from the dynamic block, or vice versa, control the dynamic block behavior from the HyDraw Property Manager. I hope that we will be finding a technique. I am exploring ways of doing without any development, but I think some work has to be done in the development part to get this work. So in any case, like in the example I made, let me discard the changes and I go back to my subplate. This is very handy. I can easily configure a subplate, but on the other hand, I must manually type in the model code. I cannot expect that automatically I get the model code for the 5 places or 4 position. There is no possibility now to link with a real model code. So I hope I answered. The only, let me just spend a few words. The only way now where dynamic blocks are used is in the orifice. Let me show you an example, basically on all the cover, sleeping cover. Let me take this one as an example. So as you see, this block has an orifice inside, and it is common practice in a sleeping cover needing to put a plug or remove the orifice. So this is the only way now HyDraw is using dynamic blocks. It is on the top right there, orifice. So there you can click and you are able to select the size. For instance, I want to put a 0.8 millimeter diameter size on X. I want to plug AP, and I want to open the Y. So this is changing the shape of the symbol. So this is the only place as of now where HyDraw CAD is using dynamic blocks in a efficient way. Hopefully we are able to use it more efficiently in the future.